It's happening, it's on. The dream of 1992, the comparisons with 1992 and Pakistan, like 1992, have marched into the first ever T20 World Cup final in Australia. Well done to Babar Azam. We were expecting you. We were expecting this version of Babar, this version of Rizwan. We spent an eternity discussing whether they should be broken up at the top. No, and that is why. They have chased down this target relatively easily. There might have been a few slippery moments towards the end, but it was always Pakistan's game, especially after the start that they had. They march into the finals at Melbourne. They await their opponents after tomorrow's semi between India and England. New Zealand crash out. You've got to feel for Kane Williamson's side. New Zealand, these specialists at making the semi-finals, have made finals in recent times in ICC events. Today was just not their day. Nothing really went right for Kane Williamson's side. Everything went right for Babar Azam's. We look back at that game and its fine moments on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. I'm sure Anil Kumble and Tom Moody in studio will forgive me if I first go to Karachi and ask Urooj Mumtaz to sum up what is perhaps the perfect day you can hope for your team on the day of a semi-final, Urooj.
A perfect day, a perfect showing, and I think it was Pakistan's game because they actually took the game head on. Pakistan traditionally and even in this tournament has been a team that outbowls oppositions, and today again put up for bowling first, restricted the opposition for probably a slightly below par total given Sydney and the conditions. And if there was a day where they wanted to show their intent and courage, there's so much talk around Babar and Rizwan. There was reason to do so, but they've nullified the reason today. Spectacular. I think, again, like I keep saying, I said it at the top of the show, the power play will be the difference, will be the key. And that's exactly why Pakistan took the game away.
Yes, at the back of that foundation laid by Babar and Rizwan, Pakistan have made light work of this chase. Tom, that's what you said. If this game was not to be tricky, it needed Pakistan to be ahead. They were ahead from ball one.
Absolutely, way ahead. It was nearly the perfect script for Pakistan. They do like chasing runs. The combination up front that we have debated long and hard over the last 2 weeks with regards to whether it's dynamic enough. The total didn't need them to be overly dynamic. It needed them to be smart and classy, and that's what both those players are. They're smart and classy players. And they found their opportunities to find boundaries to get ahead of that game after power play and just beyond that. So it was the perfect script for Pakistan. They fielded well, they bowled well, and they had a chaser total that was very much within their reach.
It wasn't like they were going to play themselves in, Anil, or see if there are any demons in this, because we saw New Zealand struggle to get boundaries away. Batting almost looked easy in the second half.
Yeah, I think, the slowness of the surface. Obviously, New Zealand didn't get the lines right initially, but credit to Pakistan. We spoke about the intent, we spoke about they had to be ahead of the game. And both the openers, it was back to the old Babar and Rizwan show, a 100-run partnership. And they scored, New Zealand got only 10 boundaries in their entire 20 overs, whilst these two openers got those 10 boundaries in the first 6 overs. And that was the difference. And to me, the intent, obviously there were a few moments where Babar, the first ball that he faced, Conway, it was a tough chance. The best part about today was, yes, definitely Pakistan outbowled New Zealand. They outbatted New Zealand, but most importantly, they outfielded New Zealand, which is very, very rare.
Yeah. Everything just went for them, and credit to them, because there were half chances that New Zealand put down. There's some sloppiness behind the stumps as well. Tom, very unlike New Zealand. Look, it almost seems like Pakistan were more up for this semi-final than New Zealand. I wonder if that's fair to say.
Yeah, I don't think they're more up for it, but I just think that the momentum was lost by New Zealand. They obviously lost an early wicket when they were at the crease. They were hoping to get off to a bit of a flyer, a bit like they did against Australia in the very first game they played at the SCG, and they never really got any momentum in their innings. We saw obviously Kane Williamson rebuild that innings for New Zealand, but on reflection, did he rebuild it quick enough? They'll look back and review it, and everyone we'll review it, discuss it, and think, well, maybe he didn't press the button earlier enough and go looking for those boundaries early on. But then again, he didn't have the benefit of hindsight of understanding how the wicket was going to play out in the second 10 overs, where Pakistan, you know, had the observation of the first 20 overs and thought, right, okay, well, this is the template for us to be able to chase this total. We need to go hard in this power play. We need to get these boundaries because that's going to be our easiest moment, and they did it brilliantly.
Does this make it a good toss to lose then? Because no one can fault Kane Williamson for batting first.
No, it was the right thing to do, but they were, you know, 10, 15 runs, I think I said, you know, in the break, probably light on what they should have been. If they were anything around 163, I think they would have been spot on.
You're back to your 163.
Yeah, probably also the fact that, you know, we saw some of the fielders slide and there's a bit of dew as well.
Sure.
That possibly helped the pitch and ease the wicket, if at all.
Yeah.
I mean, in New Zealand's defence.
Yeah, I mean, you throw another 10 into this, and suddenly when Rizwan falls, instead of needing about 19 or 15, if you need 27, 28, then perhaps you could find your way back. But clearly Pakistan done all the heavy lifting. They should have won this game even with 163, 165 to get. I wonder, Urooj, if I don't like conversations on body language, but something about the way Pakistan entered this game from the beginning. They've dominated New Zealand. I wonder if matchups come in, or rather head-to-heads come into play. We know New Zealand have a poor record against Pakistan in World Cup encounters. We say the same about India against New Zealand at times. But today it almost felt like Pakistan knew this was their game. New Zealand seemed like the team that were unsure or tentative or had those moments that were a bit dodgy.
Yeah, I think the way Pakistan's road to the semi-final has sort of panned up, there was probably a lot of thought whether will Pakistan pull this off? Will we see a sort of a loopy Pakistan, or will we see a clean-cut Pakistan? So I think Pakistan didn't have a lot of pressure going into the game, and for some reason, every time Pakistan comes to play, their body language says a lot. And today, from ball one, the way they bowled, and like everyone's been talking about, the way they fielded, I think was the game changer. It lifts the mood. You get a couple of wickets in the power play. Pakistan was just ahead of the game from ball one. Took that same intent into their batting as well, and power play, they made good use of it. Also, I think with the revelation that Haris has been, it just allowed the rest of the batters to play with a little bit more freedom, or even probably up top, take a little bit more time. And I think it was the game for Babar to deliver. He did perfectly today.
Yeah, we'll talk about Babar Azam in just a second. Of course, when I say dodgy, I mean clumsy. There were clumsy moments from New Zealand in the field. But do you read anything into that, Tom, in terms of just a team that you feel that you're going to beat? We almost should have that chat for Australia against New Zealand, but that script didn't turn out. Today it turned out as per what the script might have been.
Yeah, I think they were totally thrown off what we're so used to seeing. New Zealand is a very efficient, very measured side, and they were far from what we're so used to seeing from New Zealand. You know, Pakistan, let's face it, they got a free ticket into this final. You know, you can argue, they deserved it because it's not their fault that South Africa lost.
And they had to beat South Africa to stay alive, so they've done some heavy lifting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that, you know, that they've sort of, I think they've nearly taken that approach that, like unexpected, we've got a free ticket in here, let's just play it like it's our last game. And that's the way you should be playing finals anyway. But it's nearly given them that lease of, you know, a life knowing that, we're here unexpectedly, this is a bonus, let's just have some fun. And the tone for me was set with one piece of fielding, and it's not the run out, it's before the run out. It was by Shadab, who was at mid-on, dived and stopped the ball from going for four. Kane Williamson played a beautiful straight on drive, and he saved 2 runs. And that, to me, set the tone for the way that they were going to operate as a team. You know, you talk about body language, but you need moments like that to be able to lift the unit. And that's the standard that he basically said, this is the standard that we're going to set today.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, like we've spoken of the body language, how good they were in the field on our halftime show too. But 153 is good runs in this World Cup, right? India struggled against Pakistan chasing 160. England have struggled with lesser scores. Pakistan bottled a chase of 130 against Zimbabwe. The point Urooj makes about Mohammad Haris, Anil, boy comes out of nowhere, plays 3 30s now, 128 and a couple of 30s. Somehow, do these things just change the energy of a team at times?
It does. I mean, looking at him, he looks like a free spirit. I mean, he's not bothered about, getting his eye in or, what if first ball he gets out. That's what you want
Yeah.
in a T20 game. And at number 3, batting at number 3, a crucial position, he has the freedom there. Even if Pakistan was 0 for 2, he has that freedom. And today they were 100 for 1. And that was the difference. And he comes in there, plays that cameo 20-30, and then just takes the game away from New Zealand. That's what you want in a T20 game. And it's really nice that they found someone like Harris, which they didn't have in those first couple of games, because Babar and Rizwan getting stuck in their partnerships and then eating up balls. And then you have Shan Masood coming and taking his time.
Yeah.
Suddenly starts putting pressure on the middle order. But Harris has come in, he's that free spirit, he's come in and just put the pressure back, change the momentum. That's what you want. I mean, in a T20 game, you want the moment to be on your side at all times. And he's someone who just shifts that.
And in fairness, Urooj, I mean, I don't know if this game was ever going to slip up, but you think of just the shots that Mohammad Haris plays, that Lockie Ferguson over after Rizwan was dismissed. Dot balls, not getting as many runs, suddenly not middling it, squeezes a cover drive through 4, takes Lockie on to hit 6. That just kills the game off. If there was any chance New Zealand had, and it begs the question of, why this guy wasn't in the team in the first place. I know a lot of former Pakistan captains have weighed in with their own strong opinions on it, but he's got some ability as well here, Mohammad Haris.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this when he first played, that he is a talent that was first discovered at the PSL. He didn't get a lot of goals for Peshawar Zalmi, but every time he did play, he looked to take the game on, irrespective of who was bowling or what situation the team was in. And even when they had the interview with him yesterday, he looked confident of his ability. Now, for a 21-year to walk into a World Cup stage, never easy. But I think credit to Babar here as well. He might have walked into the 15 after Fakhar got injured, but for the team management to back him, to put him into the 11 and give them that free spirited license to do what he's capable of, I think that also goes a long way in showing the team backing them and backing him, and also making that brave call. I'm sure Matthew Hayden has a lot to do with it, as was a time in the game where almost he was looking around to whether he is in at 3 or not. Because even today, where there could have very easily have been somebody who was more an anchor to be sent in, but for him to still come out at 3 and take the game on, I think goes a lot to show about Babar and the team management's confidence in him. And then for him to do what he's done at a world stage, very easily can you be bogged down with the pressure and be overawed by the occasion or the magnanimity of the World Cup. But he's truly been a revelation. So I just hope that he continues this in the big game in the final, where he probably need to as well.
Yeah, one more is what Pakistan would hope for. We'll come to that in a bit, because there's a review of New Zealand left. But I wonder, Tom, we've seen the best of Rizwan today, who's had a quiet tournament. He got a 49 against Zimbabwe, that looked like or against the Netherlands, that looked like a scratchy innings too. But Babar, we've seen the best of him. Spent so much time talking about Haris. Do openers tend to bat differently when they know what's coming at number 3?
Not necessarily, because I don't think there's any guarantee that the Harris is going to come in at 3. I think that's quite a fluid, middle order. The point I'd like to make, and it's not because he's a fellow countryman, but the influence that Matthew Hayden's had.
Yes.
And I think that his presence, and he's a big presence. We all know Haydos. He's a big man. He's had an amazing career. But his presence around that team, on the training track, in the dressing room, we've seen snippets of it on social media, and I think that's also cast a massive blanket of protection around the team, and particularly around Baba and Rizwan, who are under enormous pressure. And he's constantly backed them and said that these guys will come good because these guys are world class. And he has, in a way, just protected them from any of the outside noise and continue to give the team confidence. And I think he would also, without knowing for sure, he would also be involved in that Harris decision, and about him going out there and playing with that sort of, look, you're young, just go for it, mate. We've seen what you can do in the PSL. This is the same thing, nothing different. And I just think that's probably had quite a significant influence on Pakistan's journey.
Shall we also say, now that they made the final, Anil, and the openers have come good in the semi, shall we credit the team management that in spite of all the chat around Babar Rizwan, in spite of them losing games, whatnot, that they stuck with this? They were so easy, I guess, for many teams to change that up?
No, we always knew the quality of bowling that Pakistan had. their dependence on Babar and Rizwan, we knew, but that didn't work in the first half of the tournament. And the middle order came good. That sort of was a surprise because the middle order stood up.
Yes.
Iftikhar, then Harris has come in and done his job. Shan Masood has shown
Shan
a lot
also,
of lot of maturity and controlling and maneuvering that innings right through. So I think that has been the plus for Pakistan. With these two openers coming good, it's a formidable team, and going into Melbourne, we know the conditions are not easy for batting. It's quite challenging with the ball swinging around, so there'll be a handful. And with the kind of confidence that they have, and waiting for the second team to come, I think Pakistan will be very formidable come Sunday.
Oh, yes, they will. Watch out, India stroke England, whoever wants to take on Pakistan in a few days' time at Melbourne. Let's spend some time on New Zealand though. Pakistan's night, not New Zealand's. As we look back at their campaign, a team that very few of our panelists picked to make the semi-finals. They were in what we thought was the group of death going into the Super 12s with England, with Australia. They managed to beat Australia. They topped their group and they've fallen short in the semi-final. Anil, that whole tournament was set up by Finn Allen and Devon Conway. They've had a relatively quiet tournament since. They didn't fire today. Is that one thing that you feel is a reflection of New Zealand?
Yes, I think so. You know, New Zealand have always been sort of circumspect in the way they go about the 20 overs. They sort of go steady and never are flamboyant. But with Finn Allen coming in, that changed. I mean, Martin Guptill, he resembles the young Martin Guptill, and great batches. You know, they would come and first ball just go after the bowling. And Finn Allen did that against Australia. That certainly put Australia on the back foot. But subsequently, there was one game where Finn Allen scored some quick runs. But after that, it became a bit too sort of circumspect and very conscious of your 20 overs. Even today, like you mentioned, you know, Kane Williamson, yes, in reflection, probably he would think maybe he would have gone slightly harder. But then I think there always dependence on a Conway and a Kane Williamson to carry your 20 overs has always been a challenge. And Darren Mitchell came good today, but till today he hadn't scored runs. So that was a bit of a challenge for New Zealand. But having said that, you know, I don't think any one of us other than Flem called New Zealand to get into the semis.
And that was a smart prediction. He was just being patriotic.
No, but
absolutely.
Yeah, but I think they certainly, you know, used their experience and quality. Today they were just outdone by a quality Pakistan, which turned up on the right side.
We've spoken so much about the vulnerability of the soft underbelly they have in the middle order. That the likes of Neesham, Glenn Phillips, etc. Phillips come good one game. Players like him, players like Finn Allen, 42 and then 116, 32, 4. I wonder you go, yeah, we know he's going to hit and miss, but if there's a ratio to how much you would want him to hit, if he is going to be a big part of New Zealand's plans going forward.
Particularly when you've got a Guptill in the dugout, you know, a seasoned player. You know, this is probably his last chance to be in a World Cup squad. You'd think a T20 World Cup squad with a 2 years wait for another World Cup. You know, I don't know what the plans are for him or what New Zealand have for him, but you definitely need a better hit rate from Finn Allen. Yeah, it was great. We all got excited at the first outing, incredible batting, but at the end of the day, that doesn't win tournaments. Just your one-off performances, and that particular role was critical for New Zealand, given the Williamson-Conway combination in the top three.
Sure.
So they needed a more sort of impact or players of impact consistency through the tournament, and that really stood up today. You know, in the power play, you know, I think they were 38 for 2.
Yes.
That's not enough. That's not enough in those conditions, particularly knowing you're batting first, it's a drier surface. Everyone talked about that, but even before a ball was bowled. So you make that assessment. We probably need to be closer to 50 at that point for 2 down, not 38. So there's 12 runs missing, and that's, I think, possibly where it first went wrong for New Zealand.
Urooj, let me get you to weigh in as well, just whether this is yet another tournament where New Zealand punched above their weight and on the big stage, on the big night, they've relied on 1 or 2 players who've not necessarily fired. We bring in Saudi and Bolt every time. How much more do they have to offer for New Zealand? If you look back at their campaign, where do you think they fell short?
Yeah, I just think with New Zealand, I think they've every time they won the game, they've had the big runs on the board when they started off, and I think today is the lowest they've scored in the tournament. So again, I think completely echo what Tom and Anil are saying in the studio that it's a batting or somebody concrete or somebody slightly more flamboyant. Kane, maybe again, you can talk about whether he went too early or didn't go too early because of the wickets that fell. But just feel. Again, hindsight is a beautiful thing. Whether Martin Guptill should have played the game with so much experience. But it just seems like a pattern for New Zealand. Yes, they've made a couple of finals before this, but just when it mattered most, that they didn't sort of punch hard. And Pakistan was probably too good for them on the day.
All right. Kane Williamson makes for a wonderful conversation, perhaps at this point, or an interesting one at least. Not old by any stretch of imagination, Tom. Next T20 World Cup, 2 years away. I'm sure teams will start planning now. If you were planning for New Zealand, what role do you see for Kane Williamson? Does he stay on as captain? Do you see him leading his team for another T20 World Cup?
Absolutely. As you say, he's certainly not old. I think we need to look at his last 12 months and see the challenges he's had physically with his injury and how that's really had an effect on the rhythm of his game. I felt today is probably one of the first times I've seen for some time, having been with close quarters with Kane, there was a flow to his game that we haven't seen. He was easily hitting it through the field. He was picking off a boundary here and there, and there was that sort of real master in the making of building an innings, like we've seen Kohli do. You know, Kohli gets his 30. First 30 off about 25 to 30 balls, and then suddenly he pops and he's 60 off 40, and that's really the template that Kane operates, but he hasn't been able to do that over the last 12 months. So I think that's still a very valuable template if you build that sort of dynamic batting around someone like Williamson, because what we've got to remember, he is regarded as one of the better leaders around in all formats of the game, and he's hugely admired, and I think you can never underestimate that.
Is the bowling in good health for you? Saudi, Bolt, Ferguson, there's a Milne in the waiting. The spinners have had a good tournament.
No, they'll still have to look for a stronger backup for a Bolt and a Saudi. I think that's where the challenge lies with New Zealand. Because in a couple of years' time there'll be fast bowlers. I mean, it's not easy for them. Yes, Kane Williamson, I agree with Tom that he certainly has the ability to continue leading New Zealand, and New Zealand will require his leadership. And whereas with Bolt and Saudi, I'm not really sure whether those two would be your future in the next 2 years to come in a World Cup. You certainly need to look beyond and get a couple of young bowlers. Kyle Jamieson, I don't know whether he still fits into their scheme of things. Somewhere New Zealand will have to take a call and look at bringing in some young fast bowlers into the squad.
Phillips has probably had a standout tournament, couple of great innings, Tom, but Neesham's had a very quiet one. Mitchell came to the party today, but they need perhaps a gun number 6, what Hardik Pandya does for India, what Marcus Stoinis is supposed to do for Australia. You look around and you find very important positions there. He's got 16 of 12 today. He's hardly bowled. A 30 of 12 might have made all the difference. But is that a position they need to look at?
Yeah, definitely. It's a difficult commodity to find. Those dynamic all-rounders. They're like hen's teeth, aren't they? But and it's not Neesham's fault. He's not bowling. It's purely down to the balance of the side in that they played 2 specialist spinners, so that sort of makes him a little bit redundant as the 6th bowler. I think their batting certainly needs something. Phillips is one of the real positives. He to me is a very dynamic player. He's still young. He's a gun fielder. He can bowl off spin. So he's got a future, and I think you could see him batting anywhere in the order. We've seen him in the Caribbean Premier League for a number of years open the batting for Jamaica Tallawahs in that particular franchise league. So he's got the game to move in the order according to how they feel they best utilise his power game. But there's certainly a couple of holes New Zealand going forward that they need to seriously consider. I agree with Anil. The Southee and Bolt combination can't last forever. It's been an unbelievable journey that these guys are on. But are they going to still be, pairing up for another World Cup in 2 years' time? It's hard to see it. It's really hard to see it. And, it's sad to say that because they've been so good. But they've got to find some, other alternatives.
All right, Mohammad Rizwan has been named player of the match. Wonder on a day like this whether you'd be tempted to go the bowler. Let's ask the bowler. Shaheen Afridi perhaps, 2 important wickets, Fennell and Williamson in the middle, or Rizwan because you need to chase 150. Anil doesn't care about these player of the match awards.
No, I'm sure the player awards are always done by batters in the commentary team.
Ian Bishop's in there.
Oh, Ian Bishop. Okay.
Today there were quite a few.
Danny
Dale Steyn was there, Simon Doole's there.
Yeah, maybe
So
they
they didn't
got
want to
outvoted today.
No, all fast bowlers. They didn't want to give it a fast bowler.
Okay, Pakistan, the stars continue to align. What a journey this is, and imagine if they cap it off with the T20 World Cup trophy in a few days' time. Let me ask Urooj Mumtaz if she has a preference for who she'd like to see in the final. India or England, Urooj?
Oh, tough one. I think they're both strong with the bat. Something that'll be a good seeing or a good viewing against Pakistan formidable bowling lineup. But just feel Pakistan will prefer England because there's so much emotion, so much history. Final against India would be a heartbreak on one side or the other. So for the health and safety of fans of cricket, let's have a Pakistan-England final.
That is awesome. For the greater good. The doctor is prescribing for the health and safety of everyone in the countries that it should be a Pakistan-England final. All right, we'll see what tomorrow has in store. Urooj Mumtaz, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. We will see you on Sunday as Pakistan have made the final. Tom Moody, Anil Kumble, let's pick up the conversation tomorrow to what should be a good one. India v England at the Adelaide Oval. Always brilliant to have their thoughts. What a game, what a day for Pakistan. Heart goes out again to New Zealand as that elusive white ball ICC trophy continues to evade them. We will have Stephen Fleming in the house tomorrow. Tom Moody can't wait for that. So do join us on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricinfo T20 Timeout. Before I leave you, make sure you go check out the all-new Cricinfoverse with Grand Vitara. It's the fans' newest destination to build their digital avatar, interact with other cricket fans, also take a virtual tour of the ESPN Cricinfo studios, and above all, have a look at the fantastic new Grand Vitara by Maruti Suzuki. Just head to the Cricinfoverse tab on the ESPN Cricinfo homepage. Look forward to your company tomorrow, just after the toss, so 1 p.m. India time for India versus England. Bye-bye.